This conference will now be recorded.
You can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Now what I'm doing is, say for example, in one of the classes, I have private. You know how to write the code and others, right? Private void, which private meaning which is a private method. Void means which will not return anything. Okay, I'm adding one method. Okay, here when I add it, here what I'm doing is, sorry, yeah, here int I mm, mm, equal to 0. I have given, yeah, int I2 equal to 1. I have given. Now string strs equal to, say for example, Isha I'm giving. Okay, yeah. Now here when you see, this is the integer object, right? This is the integer which I'm declaring here, integer variable. Even this is also integer variable. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is the integer. These are the primitive data types. These integers. Okay. Even if I give the double also, which is a primitive data type. Say double I equal to 0.0. Maybe I can give like that. Okay. Yeah. Double I3. Okay. Like this I can give. Okay. So these are the primitive data types. These kind of primitive data types, the allocation will be done in the static set, which is a stack. Okay. So these memory will be allocated in the stack. When we are running the code, say here I'm saying like console dot right line, and I give double quotes, I'm giving test. Yeah. So once after this I'm commenting this line, these three variables I have declared it. After that I'm just writing one console dot, right? Here after that maybe my DB operations are there, database operations. Okay. Yeah. So once after operations are done, it is coming to that final block, which is a end of the block. In C#, the statement will be ended up with the curly braces of closing curly braces. The statement will be started with open curly braces in C#. Okay. So this is the curly braces, which is a closed curly braces. So when the statement is coming to here, the memory will be automatically erased from the stack for these variables automatically. Got it? Now I have created this one string object. When I'm creating it, this will be the memory will be allocated in the heap for this one, for this line. Okay. So when the memory is allocated for the string or maybe for the reference variables, even when we are exiting from this method, the memory will not be cleaned by the system automatically. So that time the garbage collector will come into the picture, and then it will try to erase the memory from the heap if the if the variable is no longer needed in the application. Meaning, so because of that only, whether it is needed or not, how the garbage collector will check is, it will have the three generations, like the variable declarations and some other small stuffs will be there. It's a short-lived objects will be stored in the generation 0 box. So when the generation 0 box, always the garbage collector will look into this generation 0 box itself only. If the object is no longer needed in the code, then it will try to erase the memory, clean up the memory. When the garbage collector is running again, and then second time when it is coming in, and then if it is finding still that object is needing, then it will go to from gen 1 to, it will move to gen 2. Okay, from generation 1 to generation 2 it will come. Okay, here which is like it's a it will be a bridge. Actually it will be bridge between the generation generation 0, generation 1, here gen 2. Okay, so generation 1 is the bridge between gen 0 and then generation 2. Bridge between Gen 0 and Gen 2. Okay, so if the object is still be needed, then those objects will be moved to generation 1. But still, if it is again, what it will do that time, it will move to generation 1, one particular object, and then it will keep exiting the garbage collector. Again, certain point of time, again the garbage collector will run. So that time again it will check in the generation 0. If it is thing is there to destroy, then it will remove it. Then it will come into the generation 1. Again it will check for one more object, that object in the generation 1. If it is required, then it will move that one to generation 2. So always the long lived objects will be there in the generation 2 itself only. Meaning, so whatever they say, for example, if the garbage, if we are using more heap memory, then memory means memory chunks, meaning like memory out of memory exceptions like that, these kind of things will be there, because in generation 2 lot of objects are there which garbage collector is unable to remove the means memory from those objects. So always garbage collector will be fired, and then it will try to erase the memory as soon as possible. It will not try to keep the objects to generation 1, because ultimately, so if it is no longer needed, we only have to declare the variables in such a fashion that it will not move the objects to the generation 1 or a generation 2. If it is really required, then only we have to create the objects or create the means any object for a particular class in such a fashion. Otherwise, the memory leaks definitely will happen. Any questions now? No. We'll come to that multi-threading part. What is a multi-threading? Threading is a process, right? See, whenever we are just working on any one of the applications, or when you start any calculator, say for example, I'm just creating any calculator, CALC. Calculator is there. When you go and check in the task manager, see that calculator, you see one thing will be there, you can observe here. Calculator, see, which is there in this. So when you are opening any application, when you are opening any notepad, then again notepad.exe, some process file will be there. So which is a process. Whenever we are opening any particular application, or when we are doing any task, one process will be automatically created. The process is like it's a thread. Thread is also lightweight process actually. So for every process, there will be automatically one thread will be assigned, that is the main thread. So the thread will be run automatically, and then it will give the output as per the expectation from the user. It will take the resources, and then it will take the parameters, whatever it is expecting, and then it will just try to complete the work. Okay. Now I'm running, and then I'm showing you one application, which is like multi-thread, because in console application actually I have 4 classes I have created: multi-thread 3, 2, multi-thread example, and multi-thread application. So which one I have to execute it, I have to select from the in the console application, go to right click on properties. In the applications, you can see what is the startup of object. So here you can see multi-thread, multi-thread 2, multi-thread 3, multi-thread example. These are here. You can see in the top also multi-thread 3, multi-thread 2, multi-thread example, multi-thread like that. So I wanted to execute the multi-thread now. So because of that, I'm opening this application. Okay. Now I'm going to this multi-thread C# application. I'm just checking in my main method, which is like in the Java also it will be there. Main method meaning like it is, which is a static method in which we'll have all the functions need to be addressed here. So here what I'm doing is I'm just opening the thread. For this threading, actually we'll use the namespace system.threading, which is a namespace which will have all the thread properties and methods. Okay. Here I'm opening the thread here, which is a current thread. I'm giving the assign name. I'm assigning one name to this, which is a main thread. Here I'm just putting some message itself only. So run it and then see what will happen. which is whatever I am displaying the names, which is given properly. Okay. Now this is the just normal simple application I'm giving. Say for example, we have three methods: method 1, method 2, method 3. Okay. So in this main method, if I'm calling all there three methods, it will be executed parallel. I'll show you with the example. So understanding this. For better understanding, so I have already written one method, three methods. This is the method 1, method 2, method 3. Okay. In the method 1, what I'm doing is I'm just trying to display the numbers, which is a method 1. What is the number which is displaying? Because integer 1 less than or equal to 5 integer, I'm just increasing because 1 to 5 numbers will be displayed here in the method 1. Even in method 2 also I'm doing the same thing. 1 to 5 numbers I'm displaying. Here also same method 2, the numbers which will display. Even in third method also I'm doing the same thing. Okay, method 3, which is I'm displaying the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, all these three methods I'm calling in my main method. Okay, the method 1, method 2, method 3 also. When I have to run this application. Now when I run this application, what will happen? Because I have given the path name to execute is multi-thread, so which will not be executed this multi-thread example. So what I have to do? I have to go to the console application again, then select the multi-thread example. I'm selecting it because I wanted to execute this multi-thread example. So I'm coming here. As I have shown you, three methods I have. I'm calling it in the main method. Now run this. What is happening here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is displaying. All the three methods are executing properly. Okay, means all the results are coming now properly. Now I'll share you one more window. Now I'm running this one of the application. Once I'll run it and then I'll explain you what it is happening. Okay. In the form, actually in this application, whatever I'm showing it to you on the form designing, I have placed two controls, which is a do more work, means like it, which will take more time to finish it up. Then print button. On click of print button, I'm going to add the numbers into the list of means list box. This is the list box. This is the button control. This is the button control again, which I have added from my toolbox. From here, I have added it. I'll show you from where. From here only, these are the buttons I have added it, and the list box from the bottom I have selected this list box. This one, okay. These three I have added here, and then on click of this button, I have added some function like what I am doing in the button one control. On the button one, on click of the button one event, I am enabling the button to false, meaning I am disabling the button. The button 2 also I am disabling. After that, I am calling some function which is like do more. After that, I'm just keeping this method to 5000 seconds, means like it's a 5 seconds, sorry, it's a 5000 milliseconds, 5 seconds. Then after that, I'm enabling the buttons, button 1, then button 2. Now I'll run it and then I'll show you in detail. This is the work. On click of this button, what is happened now? Because on click of this button, the system is enabling this one, right? Means disabling the buttons, button 1 and then this one also, this button 2 also. Then you will not be able to click on print button now, because which is a disabled, right? Which is disabled, because why I'm showing it to you, which is the disable, why I have done that one is to show you in the larger applications, if any one of the function is taking more time, what will happen? System will be ideal until that process is completed. Until then, it will not call any thread and it will not perform any other action also. It will not do any other task. So that's what only. When I am commenting this, what will happen? Just do it. I have commented that. Now click on do more work, disable, then again immediately enabled. Disable, again immediately enabled. Now click on print button, which is printing the numbers, because here I do not have any method which is taking more time, right? Because of that only, to show you, just to give you just the idea itself only, what I am doing is at the bottom I'm just keeping the thread sleep for 5000, meaning like what it will take. The meaning here I have done is taking more time to finish the task, like DB operations. Okay, yeah. If I'm doing any DB operations, in the DB operations side, when I'm running any query, it will take, say, for example, 5 to 10 seconds. So that time what will happen? The system will be ideal for 5 to 10 seconds. That's what I need to write all that code. I'm just keeping the system ideal for 5 seconds for better understanding. So now what I'm doing is I'm just keeping this one ideal for 5 seconds. Run it. Do it. The system is running the database operations as I explained you. Just imagine in that way. Now that the database operation is completed, now I'm able to click on print button. Now click on print, which is displaying the numbers here. I'm sorry, I guess my application has exited. I can have to open it. Now, actually, you have followed up as of now, right? Whatever I have explained you, Deepa. Just like answer me for my question. Any confusion till now, whatever I have explained you?
No.
Yeah. Now, which is taking the do more work in this actually database operations. If we are performing any database operations, which will take more time, so that these enable will not happen here. You agree, right? So what I'm doing is here, I'm commenting this. I'm opening one thread here. Okay, the thread is like, in the thread we have to pass the method which we have to run it parallelly, which will be created another thread in the application. Then it will start the thread automatically internally in the parallel execution, which is like that. Okay, so here I have created one thread which is a name called test. I'm passing this do more work here, and then I'm starting it. If we create any thread, the thread will not be started automatically. We have to start it. So I have given the test dot start here. Now we'll see what will happen. Click this, again click this, it is printing it. Okay, click this, again click this, again printing it. But in our previous example, when you click on this one, what happened? The button is disabled immediately, then it is not enabling, because parallelly I'm printing it here. For this actually I'm just calling another method, do more work method. That's what only it is printing. It is not disabling the buttons, because which is a parallel process I'm running it. So which it is not giving any problem for me. Got it? Because I have opened one more new thread. That's what only I'm able to click on that button 2 also at that time. I'll go to another window now. Once. Yeah. Now, in my previous example, what I have told you, in all the three method 1, method 2, method 3, I have called in my main method. Okay, but in one of the methods, I have one of the database operations here. That time, what will happen? To do the task, again the system will take more time, right? So when it is doing the method 2 operations, method 3 is waiting to complete the method 2 operations. Then only the method 3 will come here, because I have called method 1, method 2, method 3. In this method 2, I have DB operations, or longer than expected operations. Okay, yeah. What will happen? Method 1 will be executed properly, but method 2, it is taking more time. So method 3 will be waiting for the method to complete, then only the method 3 will run it. I have that example here. It's a simple example I have written. In the method 1, I have, again I'm displaying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. In the method 2, what I'm doing is to do the database operations, which will take more time, to write it and then show it to it. Because of that only I'm just keeping this one for 10 seconds sleep. Okay, yeah. Then in the method 2, then once this is done, the method 3 will be executed. Okay, I'll show you with the example. To run this example, again we have to go to console applications. I have to go to properties, and then I have to select the multi-threaded 2 example, selecting it here. Okay. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. After that, performing the database operation started. 10 seconds it will wait for it, because internally you assume like database operations are going on now. Then performance database operation is completed. Then 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why this is after 3 it is waiting? Because I have written the logic here. When I'm displaying it, I have written the logic. If the I value, if the integer value in the method 2 equal to 3, just sleep for 10 seconds. Do the operations if you want, and it is which is taking more time. Then display this one. Then after that, just display other numbers. Once other numbers are displayed, finally that method 2 will be done. Then after that, method 3 will be called. So in that fashion itself, it is calling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is method 1, and then 1, 2, 3, which is from method 2. After that, I'm doing some database operations are longer time taking methods execution here. After that, method is executed successfully. Then 4, 5 from the method 2. After that, method 3 operation is completing it. So what will happen? Say for example here, the system is ideal for 10 seconds, which is okay. But in the real-time scenarios, if your system, if your application is taking maybe 3 minutes or 4 minutes, say for example, you are generating the report, or you are generating other, say for example, when you are creating the user information has to be stored in the database. Then once after it is saved in the database, you have to send an email to the user for the verification, and then maybe you have to send a SMS also. These kind of operations are there. But when you are sending an email, or when you are sending an OTP, or when you are saving the details in the database, if the system is taking more time, then what will happen? User has to wait for the email to receive it, or user has to wait for the OTP to receive it, because it is the system is completing the first method itself only, one more method. So until it is completed, you will not receive any other stuff, right? So it is very difficult to do in that way. So in that cases itself only multi-threading concept will come. Any questions still?
No.
What I'm doing is I have created one more method which is similar to the first method itself only. I'm creating the different threads. Okay, thread 1, new thread, method 1 I'm calling. Thread 2, I'm calling new thread, method 2 I'm assigning it here. And then I'm assigning the name to the threads here. And then thread 3 also, which is for method 3. I'm assigning the name for thread 3 also. And here I'm executing these methods. I'm starting it up. As I told you previously, if I create any thread will not be started automatically. We have to start it. If we are not writing this one start, the thread will not start it automatically, which we have to start it. Okay, so because of that only I'm starting it here. Now the threads, all the 3 threads will start here. Now after that, I'm just writing some of the information here. So what I'm doing here is, again, I'm just printing the methods in the first method. After that, in the second method, I'm doing the maybe database operations if we are doing anything, or else if the method is taking more time to finish any other task. So the method 2 is doing in that way. So that's what only for understanding purpose, I'm keeping the thread to 10 seconds, which is in milliseconds, which is a 10,000 I have given, which is in milliseconds, which is equal to 10 seconds. In the method 3, I'm displaying the again message. Okay, now I have to execute this method, which again I have to go to properties. Again, I'm select that thread 3. Now the run it. In which fashion the thread is executing? Now you just see. Main thread started, method 1 started using thread 1, method 1, method 2, 1, method 3, 4, 5, method 1 ending, method 2 again it is started 1, 2, 3. After the performing database operation started, main thread ended, method 3 again it is started, then method 2 it is coming. So the system will automatically takes care of it, and then it will run in the different fashion, which will not keep waiting to complete the other thread, means other work. I'll just run it and then show it to you. See, in different way it will run it, because if the other method is taking more time, the thread will be fired, other thread will be fired, and then it will keep on running the operation. So which will not be waiting for other method to complete it. So like that way itself only the thread concept will come. So which is like it's a parallel execution. If the method is taking more time to execute it, then we have to open one thread and then assign that method in the thread creation itself only. Then you call that thread, automatically the system will takes care of it, so that it will be executed parallelly, and then the process will be completed as soon as possible. So it will not take more time to complete the. Any questions still now?
Okay, in this third program also you still have that wait, right? Okay, good.
Sorry, am I audible? Sorry, I'm the mute. I'm just talking.
Oh,
In the
yeah.
method 3, I have not written anything, because
Got
why
it.
I have written sleep is here, because I have written some simple method. For the simple method, system will not take much time. It will automatically executing these steps, and then it will provide the output to us, right? So because of that only, I'm keeping the wait here, because to show you in the live example kind of thing itself only, because here only putting that performing the database operation started, because I'm not doing any database operations here, right? So which will display the message and then it will continue further. But to do the database operations for larger applications, it will take more time, right, to complete it. Because of that only, more time meaning like waiting time is more. So because of that only, I'm waiting here. I have written the waiting time here.
Good.
Rather than nothing. Got it?
Yeah. Yeah. Compared to previous program, this creating threads, it is taking faster, right? It is.
Correct. Because in the previous example, actually what it is happening, I'll show it to you and then I'll run it to you. In the multi-thread 2, I'm not using any threads, right? What is happening? First 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the first method it is taking. Second method it is coming. It is performing the database operations. It is taking more time. So it is waiting. It is not displayed any results here, right? Then the database operation is done. It is continuing the method 2. Then it is continuing to the method 3. So which is taken little more time, right? So that's what only in the method 3, what I have done is I have created the threads. For the 3 threads I have created, and then I have shown you the example. So that what it is happening, it was not waiting anywhere. It was completed very quickly, all the 3 operations, right? Because if something is taking more time, it is continuing for other thread. Parallelly, it is executing the information and then it is displaying for the user. Right, got it?
Yeah.
Now, one more method I'll show it to you is private. Split method. Let's say, for example, in the real scenarios, actually, we'll have thousands of lines code written in our application. Say, for example, 1,000 lines. Okay, yeah. From 1,000 lines, I have written. So 1 to 1,000 lines, I have written here. Say, for example, add method for add and for delete. Again for division, like that. So many methods are there. So simple, this is the which I have written in a one line of code. But say for example, method 3, I'm calling it here. Okay, yeah. So then method 2, I'm calling method 2 again, calling it here. But say for example, I have divided these methods into a simple small functions, right? Say for example, all these 3 methods are, because say for example, my method 1 is doing the operation of addition. Okay, method 2 is doing the delete operation. Method 2 is for delete. Okay, method 3 is for division. Okay, yeah. So now without writing these 3 sub methods, if I copy these 3 things, yeah. Say for example, these 3 things are there. This is for my add. This is for my delete. This is for maybe division. Okay, like that. Okay, yeah. But when I'm writing in the real time, the method what I'm written is currently is that should do only one action at a time. I'll repeat. If you are writing any particular method, that method has to do only one action. If you are writing any method for addition, that method should perform only addition addition action itself only. It should not perform any other action. You're following me, right? Say if I'm doing any one of the I have three methods like add, edit, delete. In add method, if I create the method as add, the add method should add the records in the database. That's it. It should not do any other task. Say for example, when you are adding the user, then you are sending the mail, then you are sending the OTP also. So three tasks are there. So you have to write the three methods for it. For add the user, then again send the email, then again send the OTP. So keep in mind when you are doing any performance engineering, when you are just looking at the code, if any method has more than one task to do, you have to ask your developer to split the method. So the one particular method has to perform only one action in all the times. So it should not contain any other scenarios information, which is one rule in the performance engineering also. In the better way of code, if we want to do any better code, if you are plan to write any code in the better way, then each method should perform only one action. So in the particular way, we have to split the methods and then we have to write the logic. So we should not dump the methods in dump the code in one particular function itself only, and the method lines should not be go beyond 20 lines or something, that which is good practice again. If it is taking more than that, then split the methods to small functions. Got it? Any confusion?
These are the best practices, right? What you're talking about.
They're the best practices, as well as this is for performance. Yeah, performance also. Say why I'm telling you. Here, say for example, when you are just checking any code, you are doing one.
Maybe to troubleshoot also it should help, right?
Troubleshoot also it will be very easy, and as well as repetition of code won't be there anyway. Say if you are calling one particular function, if you are writing any one particular function, okay, in the second function also, if you are writing some other thing, maybe you can compare both the methods. You can easily identify what the function one is doing, what the function two is doing. If the function is doing the same thing, they can just avoid it. You can just inform your developers these two functions are doing the same thing, why we need it. Got it? And for the better understanding, say today I'm writing the code, maybe tomorrow you can come in and then maybe you will modify the method, right? That time it should be understandable to you also. Okay, if I'm writing 1,000 lines of code, it will be very difficult. And to understand that one, that's what only if you are splitting that method as a small functions, you will give the name to the particular function or particular method, right? What the function is doing currently, what other function is doing currently. So it will be very easy to understand for other users also. The way of writing is to understand to the other users also. If you are writing the code, when I'm doing the code review or when I'm trying to modify that one, it should be understandable to me also. Otherwise it will be very difficult to understand. It will be very difficult to manage the code. Got it?
Okay.
And we have to avoid the code repetition also. And whenever the object we are creating, if the object is not required, then definitely we have to close that one. Say for example, DB connections are there. Okay, here what you will do, here con dot connection dot open, you will write. Open, you will write it. Once this is done, you have to make sure that whether the connection is closed or not. Okay, connection dot close, it should be there, because sometimes what I'll do in my unit testing, what I'll do, whether it is hitting the database, which is fine, I'm getting the information from the database, which is fine. What I'll do, simply I'll just close the application. I'll not check any other things, right? But still the connection is open itself only, which is not closed. But in real time, when I'm doing the multiple actions, say for example, you added one user, then you have click on save button, which is saved the data. Again, when you are trying to add the users again what will happen? If the database connection is not closed, again it will come into that save method. Again, it will try to open the connection. That time the connection is already open by the system. So that time what it will do, the connection still is open, so we cannot open more connections like that. The system will throw an exception. So we have to make sure that whether the objects are cleaned properly, whether the objects are closed properly or not, we have to check, which is the secondary. Like you have to because maybe that time itself only will get a lot of exceptions, a lot of errors also in that way, maybe which we cannot identify it. For the file managers also, files that close, you have to do it when you are writing anything in the file handler for the logging the exceptions or maybe tracing the information. You have to just keep in mind, and then you have to think, you have to just observe the code, and then you have to give them the suggestions. Here it is a wrong, we can do in the better way for the splitting, or maybe the database is open here, you have to close it like that. And the better practice in the code is like always we should use using statement. The using statement, what it will do, it will try to create the object. And one second, I have anything I can show it to you right now.
Using keyword is specific to .NET framework only, right?
I guess this is for .NET. Say here, you can see that here also using is there, right? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
This using is to use the class itself only, which is this
Yeah,
will be
it's
this is
declaration,
the
right?
kind of namespace, which is a namespace, which if I'm using this keyword at the top, whatever the functions or methods or classes or properties are there inside the system class, I'll be able to use those properties or methods or classes, whatever it may be. This is different than whatever I'm trying to show currently. Here, one more using is like, say, for example, here I have written using. Inside that, I am creating one object for a class, which is for multi-thread 3. I'm just creating the object. Okay. When we are creating any object by using this using keyword, right? When the compiler is coming to this block, at the end of the block, automatically system will release the memory for the objects which is created inside this, as well as for this MLT also. We need not to close this MLT dot clear. It will not, we need not to do any code to clear the memory for this one. Got it what I'm trying to say?
Okay.
Okay. If we are using any statement by using the keyword, if we are trying to create any object, Once it is come to end of the block, the memory will be released automatically for this. We need not to do externally anything. So if we are not using like this, maybe I can just create the object like this. Then maybe I can do any operations, right? Any of the operations. But for this object, I have to clear the memory externally. Otherwise, it will not allow. So for that, if I use using, definitely it will automatically clear the memory. It will just destroy the memory from these objects. Any questions?
No.
You are good, right? Okay, you understand the concept of now the multi-threading also, how we will use it. Multi-threading is a parallel execution. If any one of the function or if any one of the task is taking more than expected time, then we'll go for the multi-threading. Then we'll create the threads and then we'll start those threads and then we'll complete the task on time, which it will not take more time to complete it. So the final output will receive it in actually in the expected time. So there will not be any delay. So multi-threading is, we have to make sure that multi-threading is not the easy way, which is like it will take more resources to complete it. So that's what only, if it is really necessary to use it, then only we have to go for multi-threading, or else we should not go for multi-threading concept. That's what only in many of the applications, in many of the places, you will not find any multi-threading concept. In some such cases itself only you will find the multi-threading concept which is implemented in the code. Got it?
Okay. So as of now, I was only thinking that multi-threading only happens through the system, right? From the hardware. I mean,
it's not a multi-threading. Multi-threading, no. Thread will be automatically created by the system. When the process is started, for the particular process, thread will be automatically created, which is the main thread. Okay, for this main thread, for each and every process, one thread will be there, which is the main thread. Okay, see here, before that itself only I have written something like, when I call the main method, the main thread is always be started. After that, I am creating the child threads, which we have to make sure to create it. And here I'm starting this main thread, means child threads. But main thread will be automatically created by the system, and then automatically it will be started. But for the child threads, if we want any more threads, then the multi-threading concept will come. Then we have to create it and then we have to start. At the time of creation, we have to assign the method to execute in the parallel threading, and then we have to start it also. If we are creating it simply, it will not start the thread. We have to start it manually by using the start keyword.
okay. You said we have to only use it whenever it is required, right? So what are the common usage? Like, where are the what are the scenarios?
That's what only. Say for example, I'll give some small scenario itself only. Maybe you can think in whether it will be valid or not. Say for example, I'm creating one, as I told you, it's like a login itself only. You see registered method, you take it. I'm registering one user, right? So when I'm doing the registration, it has to collect a lot of information, like first name, last name, email, and other stuff. So when it is inserting the data, which is a one process, insert the data into the database, right? Okay, and for this, say for example, we are creating any employee. Say when you are creating the employee details, what it will happen? Employee name, employee first name, last name, and other okay, and other stuff will be there in the employee table. But in another table, when you are entering the employee salary details, also you are saving it. That time it will go to that employee salary table. Okay, then you have to assign the default this one roles to the employee, and then you have to assign few leaves to the employee again. That time it will go, because in the database we have separate tables, as you know already. So the leaves and then salary information will go to some different tables. When it is saving it in those tables parallelly, you are sending like a employee ID has been created for you. Please click on this below link to maybe create the password or something. You are sending the mail, right? And after that, maybe you are doing some other actions also. What is happening here? You are just inserting the data in the four tables. Okay, on the tables you will have the primary key and foreign key relationship. First, what it will do, in the primary key table, in the employee table, the data will be inserted. Then from once it is inserted the data in the employee table, it will take the employee ID and then it will just try to insert that data in the salary, then leave, then attendance, wherever it is. Okay. So what is happening is once the employee ID is created, then again after 3 steps are there to do it, like salary, leave also. But at that same time, once the employee ID is created, you have to send an email to the employee, right? But you are waiting to complete the process to store the details in other tables also. It's a time consuming, so you need not to wait. That time you can just open one more thread to send an email, which is like there is no dependency because employee is already created. ID you have generated it. That time you can just create one thread, send the email by using the different thread, and then when you are sending it background, the employee salary details will be processed. So parallel execution has been happened. So within the less time frame, the information will be the task will be completed. Any question?
Okay. You also said that we have to use it only when it is required, right? What are the cons and pros?
That's what only, because threading, if we are using it, what it is happening parallelly, it is creating the processes in the trace. Correct?
It can consume lots of CPU.
Correct. That's what only we should avoid that one, because for single thread there will be for each and every thread there will be a process assigned, right? So there will be a lot of processes. What it will happen, the CPU CPU memory usage will be more. That time the application will start work performs very slow. That's what only, whenever it is required, then only you go for it. Otherwise you don't create any threads.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
Then I'll just end up the session for today with the threads. Then in the next class, maybe if possible, maybe in the weekday, I'll try to take it after 8:30 if it is